Well, it's a good thing I waited until the last possible second to touch predictions for Sweden, because now a primary part of OXG's arsenal will no longer be available to contribute to his team. Foxe was confirmed to have tested positive for COVID-19 prior to departure for the Sweden major, and both Kino and Yaga qualify as contact cases because they live with him, so they will have to play all of their group stage games from their hotel rooms as opposed to on stage or next to one another. Hopes is apparently the coach who is traveling with OXG to Sweden, so he will be the one playing in Foxe's stead, but this is literally TSM and Dark Zero's worst Mexico nightmares combined into one debacle. So, are we already talking about predictions? Fucking intro. Group A, they're not getting out. This group also has FaZe Clan, Rogue, and Chiefs all in it. FaZe Clan's strong bounce back stage 3 for me is honestly enough proof that they should make it out of this group, and OXG would have been the other team that I picked, but not playing side by side with one another or on stage for groups, and without a critical piece of their puzzle is going to turn them into the team that everyone else in this group just farms points off of. It's the same case for Invictus, but we'll get to them later. And honestly, I'm not going to touch Rogue on LAN with a 5-foot pole until they finally begin turning their own fortunes around after having been cursed on LAN for the past 2 years. Whenever they actually start doing good, it's going to be against whatever prediction I have, because my predictions will not favor Rogue for the foreseeable future. So, call it a hot take, Chiefs qualify for quarterfinals. The Australians are away for so long, and then they finally go back to a major and qualify for playoffs. I see it happening. They've shown that they can play either fast and heavy or slow and structured, and kind of depending on what situation they're in, and the boost that this team has received since adding Ethan after his hiatus cannot be understated. They went from kind of a middling team overall in APAC South, and then he came along, and suddenly this entire team is gelling on a whole level we haven't seen from them before. They look great, they're underrated as hell, and they're qualifying with FaZe Clan. I'm pretty sure I heard the Australian caster group chat groan simultaneously just then because I picked their only team to make it out of playoffs. Curse is real, lads. I'm sorry. Manic, please don't hurt me. I love you. Group B has Dark Zero, Sandbox, Team 1, and Team Vitality, which is going to be a really fun group. Like, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't really give this group a second glance, but I implore you to pay more attention to it, because we're going to get some crazy Siege here. It's essentially impossible to root against Team 1 in this case. They've had enough sustained prosperity in 2021. They won the previous major. It's pretty consistent overall, so they should get out of this group no problem. Having watched the new look Dark Zero in Stage 3 with a new IGL, I am very concerned for their attacks, and honestly that's enough reason for me to think they won't survive here. Yes, that is in spite of having Canadian back in a LAN environment. For me, it's a little bit too soon. Plus, Dark Zero have usually shown that they need a couple of months after they make a substantial roster change to make any significant noise, regardless of where they play. Mexico was an anomaly because they made quarterfinals with somebody who was essentially a sub, but I'm still going to give them more time before I think they can really be contenders again. And Vitality, I have no expectations for in the slightest. They could be upsets, they could be blowouts, they could drive down here to Denver and give my mom a bouquet of flowers. I have literally no idea what this team is going to do. Which, to be fair, is actually scary because I don't know where to place them, so I'll take the bitch route and go with Sandbox getting out of this group. Reason being, if you win an APAC North stage, that is by no means a small accomplishment. They were the greatest team on entry at the Six Invitational despite being eliminated first in playoffs. And with all 5 members healthy again, with a new org supporting them, I don't think it's a hot take to assume that they get to quarterfinals. And that is only if Vitality doesn't shock us all and win the entire major out of nowhere. They might have to get some revenge for Zywu getting knocked out of the PGL major, so I don't know, we'll find out. Group C is BDS, Invictus, NIP, and Sonics. BDS will obviously be getting out of this group, no surprise there. And we do need to talk about IG, because I don't have confidence that they will do anything substantial without Hysterics. Not to say the Gig won't be able to hold his own, but this team was trying to get Hysterics to come with them literally up until the last second, so I don't know if that means they've had enough time to really get Gig into the swing of things to a point where he's comparable on Hysterics level. He was playing more of like a flank flex role, which means it's not as crazy to fill as an entry position, but still, I consider them to be the sacrificial lamb of the major. Which means it's between the Sonics and NIP for the final spot, which, won't lie, is super hard to call, but I'm going to give it to NIP on principle. Sonics are a really good team that right now I think just need additional time and practice against international squads to see how their NAL blueprint can make a successful translation. NIP at this point is just more seasoned, and the signature SQ trash talk probably isn't going to phase them that much. I'm actually pumped to watch both of them play on stage because it's going to be a whole lot of this. And Group D, yet again, is the group of death for the second major in a row. I think they're biased towards the letter D. I could be wrong. Damwon Kia, Furia, Space Station, and Empire. This entire group on paper is about to be more chaotic than the XZ Beast Coast game combined, but in a good way because it will be nothing but quality Siege. This will be some of the greatest Siege that we see for this entire calendar year. Every team in this group will be playing lights out against one another to survive, because all of them are incredibly good in the regions they play in. This is more like the group of prep, where the strongest in pre-production will survive, and those who aren't staying up until 4:30 in the morning coming up with strat ideas and watching VODs will be the ones to fall by the wayside. I would pick Furia. I absolutely would, if they were in any other group. Twister has a phenomenal mind for the game, and Fantasy's been popping off as of late, but SSG and Empire both have some of the best coaching staffs in the game, with some of the best players in the world to boot, more so than either Furia or Damwon Kia do. Space Station these days is, in essence, a super team. They're combining the best elements of the old Dark Zero team and the SI championship winning SSG into one thing that's going to slay God. And I'll say it again, this will probably be the single greatest form of SSG we ever see, provided they actually start winning some championships. And I can't also not take Empire because of how they dig in and survive even if the odds aren't in their favor initially. They've got Shepard, who's arguably the greatest support player in the game, probably next to Daye, and you pair him with Daye, and the two are just money, and Joystick's there too. Both of them are 100% going to make it out of this group, but it is not going to be easy. Sorry, Damwon. I really like you, but even if you don't make it out of groups, you are going to learn a lot from this experience in Sweden, and you're only going to come back stronger at SI. Assuming you qualify. With that being said, this is what I've got for your number 1 seeds and your number 2 seeds. Honestly, some of these could probably be switched between 1 and 2, but this is obviously how the playoffs are going to be seeded, with a random number 1 facing a random number 2. So, because I'm not going to Sweden, this time I should be able to do a playoffs prediction video like we did for the Six Invitational, but that's going to differ based on how the schedule ends up working out and if I'm actually awake to kind of get some of this content done. So let's recap how this week is going to go. Jesse and I are bringing the post show back, which means as soon as games are done for the day on both the main and the Bravo channels throughout this week, we are going live at twitch.tv/CaliberJacob to run down how the day went, give our thoughts, some analysis, some recap, review, whatever it might be, and that's happening right after games are done. It's 3 days of groups, then there's that one break day in the middle where I want to do the other predictions video talking about the playoff bracket, which I'm also going to post to Twitter later, and then another 3 days of post show because that's where we have to talk about all of the playoff games. I'm going to do my absolute best to adhere to this content schedule, which means there's probably going to end up being a video every day for the course of next week. So it's just going to be tough because I have to make my internal clock respond to CEST as opposed to MST. So that's going to be a whole other challenge. So feel free to tune in for me on Twitter, just complaining about suffering. So go follow me there too. But what do you think of these predictions? Is anything about the way the Group A is now shaking out in light of OXG's recent development changing how you think that group is going to shake out? Let me know what you think of all these in the comments. And as always, feel free to follow on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all that crazy stuff. I honestly forget how to do outros because I've been away from this for so long. But yeah, see you for the post show tomorrow. Peace.